Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, this is going to be an update on the shooting that took place last week in Tennessee at the Covenant School. It's not a video I want to make. It's not a video that I have any want in the world to make. Not because of who did the shooting, but the fact that 3 children died. But I feel like I have to say something after what I have seen transpire over this last week. So let's get to the facts, what we do know to be facts in this case. We know that 3 children and 3 adults were murdered. We know the shooter's name. We know the shooter was transgender, or at least identified as such. We know the shooter was allowed to buy 7 firearms in the last few years. We know that the transgender shooter came out to their parents, their family, and their family did not accept them. Didn't accept it when they came out and said that they liked women. Didn't like it when they came out and said they were trans. Why? Because their religion dictates as such, right? And in recent, not in the too distant past, the shooter suffered a massive loss. Someone that they really cared about deeply, somebody that you could say they loved. They died in a car accident. That's also the time that they came out and then, to the parents. So as this person was dealing with the trauma of losing someone, their family rejected them at the same time. I can tell you right now, those of you out there thinking that this person did this just because they're trans, 1, aren't paying attention to the facts, and 2, don't seem to understand how things work. You got people like Tucker Carlson going out there trying to tell people to be scared of trans people. You got people like Tucker Carlson going out there and saying that this shooter did this shooting just because they were trans and wanted to get back at the church. The police have said multiple times since last Monday that that was not the case. That they found no ill will from the shooter towards the school or towards the church in general itself, right? That the school was only chosen because the shooter did not feel as if taking the mall was a good idea. They were concerned there'd be more security there. We also found out recently that some of the teachers in the Covenant School were armed and didn't fight back. Why is it a girl was killed trying to pull the fire alarm? By the shooter. Why wasn't there a teacher out there doing that? Why is there not a teacher there that they're supposedly armed? Why wasn't a teacher quickly on the scene to at least try to maybe pin down the shooter into a certain area so they couldn't get to the kids? Had a comment on Rumble about why I wouldn't want people to arm the teachers. This is perfect evidence right here of why I wouldn't. Most concealed carry license owners, even though they're trained, some of them aren't trained in active shooter drills, and they freeze. Even those trained in active shooter drills normally freeze or run and hide. Plus, you don't trust teachers. We in this country do not trust teachers. We don't trust them to choose the way they teach. We don't trust them what they teach. We don't trust them to choose the books that go in our classrooms. And you want to arm them? You don't trust them with a book, but you trust them with a gun? Come on, people. Think about it. If you can't trust them to teach your kids and you keep claiming they're just indoctrinating your kids, should you be arming them? If teachers are such terrible people, why would you arm them? And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's talk about what happened. Or some of what happened, right? Oh, after the shooting. There's been a lot of talk about trans people and how we're to blame. Also, there's been a lot of talk about fears amongst the trans community. One of my viewers mentioned it, and I went and did some reading about it. And there are activists out there that are highly concerned, and people within the trans community that are very concerned about what's going on and what could happen. And I can't say that I don't blame them. With the hate being spewed by the right now, who knows? I wish I could say I could just alleviate those fears and say nothing's going on, that nothing's going to happen. But I can't. I wish I could be more positive, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to go happen, what's going on, because I just this last week, all the hate that I've seen. You know, I came out 2 years ago, a year ago, I think, here on YouTube, but 2 years ago, and that's when I came out to my wife anyway, and a few friends. And I've never been so down in that entire 2 years than I have been this week. I heard there was an outcry over a protest that was supposed to take place called the Trans Day of Vengeance. There were death threats made to these people. Now they weren't out there to have a day to like hurt people. It was a protest to protest all the anti-trans bills and laws that have been passed in this country. I don't think it was a great name. I don't want to do things in a vengeful way. But can you understand why people would be having a protest called Trans Day of Vengeance? Could you think for a minute before you lose your mind on why they called it that? And that it was probably planned, I'm assuming, prior to last Monday? Yes, I am absolutely just heartbroken what happened to those kids in that school. But I'm also not going to stand here and listen to people just denigrate the trans community as if one person from the community doing something means we all are that way. I constantly hear all the time, it's not all white people. Okay, if it's not all white people, then why do you spread the idea that it's all trans people? The fact is, the shooter was severely, violently, mentally ill. They were having severe bouts of depression. They felt like their life was over when that person died in the car wreck. This person didn't kill people because they were trans. They killed people because they didn't know what to do with their anger and their hurt. That seeking counseling, for whatever reason, was not helping this person. And I do believe you should not be allowed a firearm if you're in that state. And I'm not saying you should be banned a firearm forever, but when you're in a state where you could likely self-harm or harm other people, you shouldn't have a firearm. Over the weekend, one of the first children that were killed had the first funeral of the three children over the weekend. If I remember, she's the one that was gunned down while trying to help save other people because she tried to pull the fire alarm so people would know to get the hell out of the building. She was gunned down while doing that. Two other children, including the director of the school, or the current pastor, was gunned down. 9 years old. 9 years old. America is the only country in the world that sees our youth gunned down on a weekly basis, then lifts not a finger to help and says, oh, we've done all we can. We can do more. We can do better. We should do better. I am ashamed to be an American. Utterly ashamed. This shouldn't happen. Not in the greatest country in the world. We should stand up and do something. Because this isn't a straight issue or a gay issue or a trans issue. This is a protecting our children in schools issue. Stop focusing on banning drag shows and banning trans treatment for transgender youth. In fact, transgender treatment for youth lowers suicide rates by up to 73% and lowers chances of self-harm by 50%. All you have to do is support them and not hurt them. You don't have to be trans. You don't have to really even support the community. Just don't hurt people. And when a shooting happens, don't just blame the entire community that person may belong to. Look at them. Look at their connections. Look at what they are connected to. So far from police, this person wasn't connected to anybody. They identified as trans, but that's as far as it went. They weren't active in LGBTQ circles, right? Because they weren't allowed to be. Their family utterly rejected them. And you combine the rejection of family and peers with the fact that they lost someone they loved. That's hard to go. That's hard to digest. I think we need to look at each of these shootings, a little closer. Not from a law enforcement standpoint, because they seem to look at them pretty clearly, right? Pretty deeply. But we as society need to realize that these shootings are not caused by somebody being white or cis or trans. They're caused by people that are messed up in the head in a violent manner, that think it's okay to do this kind of stuff. Or they're hurting so bad they think they'll take out other people because they're too cowardly to take it out on themselves. One of these days, I'll tell the story about why I don't allow myself to have firearms. It has nothing to do with being trans. In fact, I would never harm anybody for my problems, right? For whatever mental health issues I have, I would not blame other people for it. I would not hurt other people for it. But the thing is, there are some people out there that have such a violent mental health problem that they need more help than they're getting. The fact is, counselors are supposed to report these kind of things. If they know someone's a threat to themselves and others. Because they're allowed to do that under federal law. If they think someone's going to harm a lot of people or harm other people, they have an obligation, from at least what I've read in the past, to make that known. But we don't do anything about it, right? We continue to do nothing. I got a question for everybody, especially if it's not doing anything. If every time you walked out your door, a wasp flew down and stung you, would you stop the wasp from stinging you? Would you get some spray the nest? Or would you keep walking out the door every single day getting stung by a wasp? My thought is you would probably stop that, right? You would do whatever steps it took. Or say bees had gotten into your ceiling or into the wall of your home, and every time you went into a certain room, you got stung by a bee. Would you call an exterminator to get into the wood of the house and take care of the ant or the beehive? Probably would, right? You'd probably do anything you could to make sure that you and your children were safe in your home. So why won't we do it for guns? People on the right say it's mental illness, and that's why they're killing people with guns in schools and stuff. So why is the right doing away with funding that helps people get mental health care in this country? You want any ideas? Because I don't understand it. We have two issues in this country. We do have a mental health crisis in America. We do. And it's terrible. That's also why you have more people reaching for things like fentanyl. And that's just a fact. But we also have a gun problem in this country. We let anybody who wants a firearm have one. We do nothing to prevent these kind of shootings from happening. We don't have people guarding our schools. We'd rather say let them get in the school and let the teachers take care of it with arming the teachers. But how's it going to help? You need somebody outside that can prevent the shooter from getting in the school to begin with. And maybe my solutions aren't perfect. Maybe my solutions and my ideas wouldn't work. I don't know. But at least I'd be willing to try something. The rest of the people out there don't want to try a damn thing. They want to stand idly by and watch it happen again and again and again. And then they want to ask, I can't believe it happened. Why did this happen? We ask it after every single school shooting. Why did it happen? Why? 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 Maybe because we didn't do a damn thing to change it. Just like I said before, after Sandy Hook, when we did nothing, the gun debate was over. The NRA had won. And there's no way we'll ever get that back. That was the last opportunity we had to do anything in this country. Just put an end to what we're dealing with. We should be ashamed of ourselves. We just should be completely ashamed of ourselves. You shouldn't have to send your kid to school fearing whether or not they're going to come back. I don't know what else to tell anybody. I don't know what else to say about it. But I can tell you this. You shouldn't blame the entire trans community because one person, one time, happened to be trans was a mass shooter. I can tell you that. I can also tell you the trans community in general does not want to hurt your children. Nobody in the LGBTQ community wants to hurt your children. Now, could there be bad people within every group of people? Yes, because there are. There are bad people within every group of human beings. Because there are people out there that have no integrity whatsoever. But how about instead of banning drag shows, how about we actually start working on the things that are actually harming children? This has been the Big Ranch Show. I'll see you down the road. And good luck.